All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes,
episode 3, because we're done with the movies.
Yes, no more movies, at least in the beginning here.
Right.
The story has been set, the stage has been set. We have our primary main characters who have just both recently been promoted, recognized, rewarded. For some of them, Yang out from underneath the nose of Kazilnu, kind of sticking his
just
face into things.
Generally ruining everything, you know.
Your plans are stupid and you're stupid. Oh my god, I got 1 million people killed. Okay, I should be demoted. Yeah.
But things are going well for both of them so far, even though there are complications.
Yeah.
However, now Yang is tasked with capturing the Isolon Fortress, which has not worked thus far, but because it's Yang, maybe he'll be able to think up something.
Yeah, it's no mere moon, though. It's a space station.
Indeed. Yeah.
We also have everything going on with Reinhardt, who has now gotten a little bit more attention from the Kaiser, who seems to be putting him on the path, at least, to a Marquis, but he is not actually a Marquis yet.
Right, he is a fleet admiral. Yeah.
Right, which means in some ways he is very similar in rank to the way Yang is being situated out here. But Yang feels like he might have been promoted backwards a little bit so that he can be independent. Because he's not at a glory kind of a kind of a showman marketing position.
Yang needs to prove himself. He's gotten the chance to be able to be like, hey, you can do stuff, but now he's also being given the impossible task because he's pissed off a lot of people.
Right, but he'll be getting his own fleet where he'll probably be making the most of the decisions himself.
Yep. Right.
At the very least, some level of autonomy outside of Kazilnu's situation here. However, the situation with the grand scale conflict is a little bit more mature and complicated.
Yeah.
We have this guy, Fazani Landshire, who is somewhat pulling the strings on both sides in order to just exacerbate the conflict.
He's a bit of a dick.
He's basically some high level threat for the end game of this show, because when you think about why this war has been going on for 150 years, it's because of people like this guy who are keeping the conflict from ending without having definitive battles lead towards definitive conclusions.
He reminds me of Elusive Man mixed with Lex Luthor or something.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Just slimy and no.
Yeah, just drenched in money and no morals.
Yep.
So that's an issue. We've got everything going on with Reinhardt and his sister.
Yes,
he very, very much is giving me those Lelouch vibes there. But I'm very excited to see how her character, given that she's a fully grown adult in some ways, isn't she also older than him?
Yes.
Yeah, she's potentially going to be just as big of a player as he is, given her connection to the Kaiser.
Right,
and given that the Kaiser is not well in terms of health, we could see maybe in the short future actually a bit of a political upheaval as a lot of seats switch hands or switch asses, so to speak.
And chaos is a ladder, but I mean, only if you're ready for it. So
only if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
But I think when push comes to shove, not only will Reinhardt succeed in protecting his sister, I think Truniht will definitely do his part as well in protecting Enerose.
And hopefully not die, so that they can be happy together and things can be great. But,
Truniht seems like a good boy.
He does,
and good boys, we don't know if they last long in this in this world, in this show.
Yeah.
So far, actually, what doesn't last long are the idiots. So
this is true.
That's good, because Truniht isn't an idiot. Right. And none of our main characters are idiots. So I think we can go the distance with at least our main cast here.
I can picture it now. Truniht is like, what was the most impressive thing that Reinhardt ever said to you? Don't be an idiot. Changed my life. Whenever I'm about to do something, I ask myself, would an idiot do that? If the answer is yes,
I don't do that thing. I don't do that thing.
Which is probably grossly just being horrible to Truniht. But
But we've got our next stage of the story. We're gonna figure out what Reinhardt and Yang's next moves are with their ambitions. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right, everyone. We got ourselves a Yang Alliance-focused episode.
Yeah, and oh boy, like,
wow, we have some serious corruption. We have.
I heard you ordered some freedom.
Yeah. Would you like some 1984 will of the state and our unity is what makes us strong, not our freedom.
Well, and the idea that so the whole thing of Truniht being like, hey, after that outburst, let's sing the national anthem, right? Which is very pointed and on the nose of and all that stuff,
right?
But from his perspective, it's a fairly good move because this is where people need to at least, it would seem impolite and improper and all that stuff to not,
right,
stand and sing along and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then to immediately have an army of people right outside the building.
Now, to be fair, there's no way they would have seen that.
No
one would have seen that.
Right, and granted, this was made in '88, so the technology that exists here doesn't have to correlate necessarily with how the technology would be nowadays or things like that. So because this was made back then, it probably would have been a lot easier for a concept like that to happen, where something happens out on like the public street outside a government building, and
but it's not a public street. They're on a military compound. Like,
well,
she's in legitimate danger.
Yeah.
If you looked on the side, it was like she was effectively walking the tarmac of a fleet hangar. She is not in a safe place. The only people out there are military.
Sure, and they would know to just
they were literally so far away that there was a horizon of this kind of concrete steel walkway that she was on that they came up over. So no, I think she made it herself a good distance away. And if anything, because the military is probably...
They wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. It's the whole point of why Yang was like,
immediately get a car.
Well, immediately get a car, but also when there was the issue at home, it's not call the police or whatever. It's there's a fire, right?
Right.
Because you can't not answer to a fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
But oh boy, I figured there would be issues like that in the Alliance too. I did not think it would be this overt. Holy crap.
Yeah. So right now what we've got ourselves a conflict that is being perpetuated via certain means because in some ways, because of it being one where it keeps getting the Alliance either doesn't have the ways to secure a victory in just the same way the Empire doesn't have the way to secure a victory because of people like Fezani.
Yeah.
So because of that stuff's happening, the Alliance is a democratic republic, or was.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a democratic republic go to war for over 150 years, anyone that's played Civilization knows that you're going to get civil unrest.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like this goes against all the tenets of really what our democracy is all about.
Right.
We need to find some way to have peace so that we can seek out individual prosperity in ways that make give everyone the opportunity for the pursuit of happiness instead of sacrificing sons and husbands and brothers and uncles and grandfathers for a war machine that has no end in sight. And then Yang has to look at grandmothers as they're widowed and have no sons anymore, and then looking at their grandson who is also fatherless, and saying like he wants to become a soldier too, and he's like, you know what? No, by the time he grows of age, I'm going to make sure that basically that that we won't have an age where he'll be forced to go to war.
That was a fantastic response because I was like, what's Yang gonna do? Because he's not gonna.
There's nothing really he can do.
He's not gonna encourage the kid.
No,
right?
No, of course not.
But
and he can't say soldiers are pointless or meaningless or anything like
exactly,
that. Like, I hate soldiers.
Right, or like, and he wouldn't be the kind of person that's like, no, I'm not going to, shake your son's hand or whatever.
Right, no.
Right, but
So
The
he finds
idea
a
that
clever alternative route. I mean, this
Right.
is who he is. He's the strategist. He,
Yep.
he thinks like this on the fly.
Yeah.
He thinks in the
Right.
the
I mean-
abstract and comes up with these clever solutions. So
Yeah.
okay, so big thing here is we have this patriotic knight corps. That's some messed up shenanigans. They are the shadow force of Truniht. So okay, he doesn't even bother also like keeping his distance really physically from these
He
people.
has them in his house, like that, it's one of those things where it seems like he's drunk on his own power.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and there might, and I'm sure he is, and there might be some, again, technological difference because of how long ago this was made. So the idea of like you could get someone into your house without it necessarily being like easy to be discovered, you know. But
well,
like
we assume just sci-fi.
right.
Yeah.
But like the idea that it's like, yeah, having them literally go back to you right afterwards, like that just
shows how much control he has over the state, basically.
Right. Yeah.
He's not afraid of the law.
Yep.
So
I am the Senate.
Yeah, this is literally an I am the Senate type character.
Yep.
Okay, so I like that we got alliance focus though, because then we get to basically say, all right, in the next episode, which it looked like at the first few seconds of the preview we got there, will be a Reinhardt Empire focused episode.
Right, which
so we can bounce back and forth and show those perspectives there. We got a couple new characters here. We got kind of a little bit of a recontextualization of some characters where we got their names wrong. But Jessica being this type of person is rather interesting because when we met Yang and her and Lap, there was this vibe we got that she was Yang's ex, and I think it wasn't really ever explicitly stated, but it was more of this thing of where Yang was like, it's okay, Lap, it's okay, and Lap was like, are you sure? So that's guy talk for, wait, you dated this girl. Like, you guys were really close.
She cries in your arms while you're dancing, you know? Like, I mean, I didn't see that because I was passed out, but, you know,
But he knows in some ways that there's that little bit of tension between the two of them.
Yeah.
But Yang gives his blessing probably because he sees this whole war that he's got out in front of him as one that basically takes away any opportunities he has for happiness literally until he retires. He's the type of character that probably wishes he could be with someone like Jessica.
Yeah.
Especially given how badass she was in this episode.
Oh, definitely. But the thing is, Yang's read his history. He knows what happens and what becomes of people that make their way into the history books. It oftentimes doesn't end well.
Well, I don't think he has a desire to put himself into the history books, though.
Well, he has a desire to end the war.
Yeah, but
that's not for the sake of being in the history books, right?
Right.
But he wants to. He has a dream.
Right.
He has a dream that is
right, but it's not personal ambition. It is.
Oh no. Yeah.
Okay,
but it's a dream. He wants to end the war.
Yeah.
Right.
He also really wants to retire, though.
Yes.
So I think the big thing actually here, his personal ambition is actually a really selfish one. He would rather actually end the war, it seems like to me, with no accolades, no recognition, not even a blip of anything on his record, but actually get to retire and just live a simple life.
That's probably what caused him to break up with Jessica in the first place anyways. It's the idea that he very much wanted to have that life with her.
Sure.
Right? And that's why it was such a painful breakup and why there were all these lingering feelings and still are and all that. Right? But the idea is that if he's going to actually end the war, and it's not just going to be some like fanciful talk or whatever,
he has to focus. He can't do anything else, really.
Right, because this is something that for 150 years no one has been able to do. Now, maybe a lot of people didn't want it to happen, so there are reasons why it wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, in a galactic conflict where millions are just thrown away, you know, right? Other people have probably had that dream too.
Oh, yeah. And they lived and died with the stars and stripes all over them or what have you.
Yep, and without doing anything to the effect of causing that to actually happen.
Right, they might have set themselves up a little bit more, because I get the vibe still that the Alliance was the rebellion, basically. Like,
right.
They were
but it's 150 years later. Like, you know, it's
right.
three generations have, like, completely
gone.
But
we're still in a military standoff in terms of the might of their forces. The Empire can't just walk over an Alliance planet right now, and the Alliance can't just take the prized fortress of the Empire. We are in effectively that kind of trench warfare kind of part where no one is really gaining any ground, but like a million will die for half a mile of, you know,
and
territory.
Do you get the feeling, maybe it's just me because of like how the Empire like presents itself and everything, or just because since we've been following Reinhardt for the most part until now, the Alliance has been losing continually, but it feels like the Empire might still have superior military might, maybe? I'm not sure.
Okay, I could get the vibe that the Empire has maybe larger numbers, but I'll bet you anything that there is an actual technological advantage within the Alliance.
Okay.
I'm betting, if anything, if they want to do something that will separate the two of them in terms of the way they do war, it'll be that Reinhardt is feeling held back by the tradition and the pomp of the Empire, right?
Oh!
That's literally a thing he brought up. Like, why are we in these stupid carriages? And then you have the Alliance, who literally has their National Assembly at a military complex.
Right.
Where they're like, we're united, we're militarized, we're...
Right, and that's probably one of the things that helps Truniht keep things that way, is that they probably are militarily, like they're outnumbered and things like that, but from the standpoint of the Empire, it's too much infighting because it's all personal power and whatnot, whereas at the very least in the case of the Alliance, Truniht seems to more or less be the top dog, and there's no question about it.
He is the only character we've been introduced thus far that is a politician true.
That is also in military control.
Well, we don't know too much about how that works yet, but yes.
Right, he's the Secretary of Defense, so, you know, it's like...
Right, but usually in a democratic republic, the Secretary of Defense
is not at the top.
No, he is the liaison to the elected politicians about the military affairs, and then those elected representatives gather together and vote.
Right.
This is, though, in a proper democratic process.
Yeah.
It might have even been a while since we've seen a proper democratic process in our nation with regards to how we handle declaring war.
And in times of war, I mean, Yang's read history, he knows this, in times of war, more and more power and freedoms are given to the people in military command as opposed to the people in civil command.
Or military command is given more and more to the people in civil command, to the point where the lines become blended and we get someone who's supposed to be...
You don't have the separation of church and state and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get some really weird Caesar must defend the empire from... defend the republic, mind you, from these ruthless invaders. And then power gets consolidated. I actually say this is the brilliant thing about this show, is they'll probably get into this, is how a democratic republic generally fails is consolidation of power, and when election terms start to get stretched out a little bit longer.
Wait, so you're saying a democratic republic fails when it stops being a democratic republic?
I know. Wait, what a concept. But yeah, when you see, I would say one of the general cases of corruption you can see is when election terms are stupidly large, like they just go on forever.
Sure.
The other one is when power becomes more and more consolidated into a single branch of the government, so that they don't have ways to keep each other in check.
Which, to be fair, the idea of the military having way too much power when the country's been at war for 150 years, all-out war, that kind of makes sense. Because that's probably what they had to do to keep from getting completely crushed by the Empire, right? Is anything they can give to the military, do it, right? Because we are in a fight for our survival, and then add freedom to the mix, and, you know, all sorts of things.
A noble cause now, holy war.
Right.
One of the things that I like about this is because we've isolated the Empire from this episode's story here, it paints the Alliance entirely in the in a bad way. But the thing is that we're probably in the immediate next episode here with Reinhardt going to see how screwed up the Empire is in the same way. But what's cool here is that while we have our beacons of, our paragons of virtue and goodness that are kind of trying to navigate the mix of this here, I like also how not heroic Yang was in his commentary. There's a lot of things about Yang and what he did in this episode that were heroic. I would say he saved Jessica here. He acted when someone around him needed protection, someone that he cared about. However, his kind of, his chide nature regarding this whole conflict and stuff is something that shows that he's not the easiest to work with when it's when there's that little bit of hypocrisy. I'm just curious to see what happens when he gets so much accolades under his belt, where he has to play politician and he realizes how much he hates it. Because I think that the way the alliance is set up, you're right in that there is too much of a blend of military and political power. And the big admirals and stuff, they're just aware of it. And they just kind of have this thing of like, yeah, but I've been around for 40 years.
Right. Like, I keep doing my own thing, and that sort of stays over there, hopefully.
Right. Truniht, I've weathered his stuff for a while now.
The greatest freedom in the alliance is the freedom to not get involved.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that line,
That was so barbed. I loved it. But then in a lot of ways, Yang is already playing politics, because when he went to talk with Truniht, right?
Yes, that's true.
He didn't go to talk to Truniht to confront him or anything.
Or
threaten him or anything like that, or give him a speech about justice,
he
right?
kissed up.
Yeah.
In a very clever way by making him seem like, I'm not a threat. Yeah, just I really appreciate Jessica's protection.
He did have some subtle barbs in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sure this will be a great story for you, and things like that. But he very much played to Truniht, right? Yeah. So, oh, man. Yeah.
But, seeing that he can deftly maneuver the battlefield in space just as much as he can navigate the political turmoil, corruption landscape on the small scale here. That's good. But I think one of his arcs will be that he ends up getting pushed into the political kind of position of things, because if he wants to end the war, there's 2 ways you end the war. There's 3 ways, but only one of them is unacceptable. Probably you surrender. That's one way. Next way is you completely defeat your
obliterate.
Your
Absolutely.
Well, you make them surrender, basically.
Right. Yeah, you make them surrender.
It might not be total war at this point.
Well,
but the other way is you sue for peace.
Right.
And that one is the hardest one of them all, actually, because usually suing for peace involves a little bit of destroying them. They feel like they need to sue for peace.
Well, but even then, the thing is that does it last and whatnot? And how do you come to terms that both sides agree on? And blah, 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 blah.
And can we exist as neighboring nations where in 50 years from now we might have the same problems go?
If only they could each have like their own separate galaxy, Like that would make
since we have
sense.
At the very least the travel needed to, occupy things on the galactic scale. In some ways, this is what probably was beyond the point of, like, we're probably going to get some history at some point, but I want to go a little bit in depth into this. We probably already went through the golden age of humanity, and that was the Empire.
Sure.
The whole of humanity was united as we took to the stars and had this glorious expansion, and we were discovering all these things, and we were united as a people. And then society does what society does, and started to disassemble at the fringes and start
go
to
into
move
chaos
inward.
to try and create a new order. Yeah.
And then we get a revolution that was probably based on some, things that were violating some human rights or what have you. And then some freedoms were, getting robbed. So now we have this revolution and it's actually working. But,
one of the things that I really like that they're doing here is the way they make the social commentary they give, because with the with the Empire, right?
Mhm.
It's the Empire, right? And it's fairly far removed from anything that we have in our world today, because you don't have like as much of like the almost like the noble houses. It almost feels like with each of the fleet admirals and stuff. I mean, granted, it's not actual
it feels like
noble
something
houses,
more
but-
from the 18th, 19th century.
right. Which that seems like very much the space opera. Like where the space opera is in Legend of the Galactic Heroes,
really?
right?
Okay.
Is with the Empire, and then with the Alliance, that it's like, this is the U.S. Alliance. Wait, this is the Alliance of which
Red,
is
white, and blue. Yeah.
exactly, and they talk about freedom and all that jazz, and if you were to jump 150 years forward from 1776, where would you get? Right around World War One.
1926.
Yeah. So a little bit after.
Great Depression.
But
no, Great Depression was that was the Great
30s
Depression.
or-
That was the Great Depression. Yeah.
Yeah. But the
It was a
idea
little
that like
earlier, I think, but yeah.
the idea
Or a
that
little
like
later. Sorry.
there's a lot of things they can comment on with this, right? And I like what they're doing with it. And the way they have the sort of all-American chiseled jaw and blonde haired, like I'm the
My name is Job. His name is Job Truniht.
Really?
Yeah. Or
Wow.
it's Job. Either way.
Well, yeah,
Either way.
which is
they're both-
worse, yeah.
Which is worse, yeah.
but like and this whole idea of everything and just the kinds of atrocities that can be committed when it's for a cause.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy.
What I also am liking from this here is that Yang already has the opinion that the war itself is pointless, so it just needs to be ended. Obviously. Okay,
Right.
cool. But does that mean that he would adopt a stance that would be so counterproductive to the Alliance that he would offer surrender eventually at some point on the table, just as a, hey, we could just surrender? Because what is the Empire actually going to do? Like, they're
Right.
going to enact their laws again. They're going
Right.
to enact their customs and their culture, and they're going to do all this stuff here. But we'll still have changed. We could then put ourselves into like, nope, you don't understand.
Right.
Noble
If
houses,
it's
families.
Yeah, if they do some kind of like not unconditional surrender, but like,
Right.
hey, we'll surrender, but like and we'll give you these things, but we need to keep these things, right? Our
Right.
citizens still want the freedom to not get involved, right?
Mm.
So if they can continue their lives, since no one can even remember when these territories were under Empire rule, probably,
Right.
then
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But-
that. See, I love that kind of discussion because it's something where I'm like, oh, I don't know how that would play out, but I would just, oh.
Well, and that's why when, not if, but when Yang and Reinhard meet,
Oh, yeah.
when they meet and have a good conversation
Yeah.
over some tea, right?
Yeah.
That's probably one of the things that they're going to talk about, because who knows when it'll happen and at what levels of power they're both at, right? But
Okay. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. There's a whole lot to get into in this show, and I'm excited to get into it. It did a little bit by bit piece, so the journey begins here. So if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, all kinds of sci-fi stories like Jacob's sci-fi novel that he wrote.
yes, that's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines. It's available for purchase on Amazon in both hardback and ebook. It goes into war and things like that and peace and what needs to be done in order to get it. But so if you're interested in that, go check it out. Link in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb,
I'm Jacob.
and we'll see you all
Next time.